I bid you welcome.
We must have American dominance in space.
He finally saw it, huh?
Yep. I saw. Well, I'm not sure what I saw. I saw it though.
So it was Chad Kalich's newest documentary, Two-Face the Grey, his direct sequel to Sir No Face, which he made like I think about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, something like that.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
who knew that he would make a sequel? I had no clue that there was going to be a sequel to this. I thought it was just going to be a one-off with that paranormal encounter. I guess he claimed it was the first footage of a full-body apparition ever caught on film or video or whatever.
Yeah.
And here we are 2 years later, and he's making a sequel, but with a very different angle to it.
Well, I actually, yeah, but the thing was, when I went into this, I actually thought it was a completely new investigation.
Oh, right.
I didn't realize it was a carry-on.
Oh, yeah.
I thought, because when it's, I mean, obviously, disclaimer alert: if you haven't seen it and you don't want to know, then stop listening now and go watch it and come back, because we're going to be talking about lots of what would deem spoilers. So
yeah, we're going
to give a lot away.
We're going to spoil it for you.
Yeah, but the thing is that I sort of started watching it, and the first 10 minutes was all about Sir No Face and his previous documentary, and he was interviewing the Australian team that undertook the ghost hunt, and they were investigating that site for, I think it was 2 years, for the Australian government.
Right.
And I thought, what am I watching here? Am I watching an advert for a film that's been out nearly 2 years? Or when's this new one, this UFO one, going to start? And then I started to realise that this was the new one, and that there was a connection he was drawing between the apparition of Sir No Face and the whole UFO scene.
Right. That was the, and I mean, because when the movie first came out, a friend of mine watched it with me, and when it was all over, we talked about it, and I said, "What'd you think?" He said, it wasn't that good." I said, "Why? Why don't you think it was good?" He said, "Because it didn't look like a ghost. It looked more like an alien." And he said that to me when we watched it, and I dismissed it, thinking, "Well, no, this is a ghost. What are you talking about?" But I can kind of see where he's coming from, and apparently, lots of people said that when watching Sir No Face.
Well, because obviously, as the documentary goes on, they draw comparisons to, if I understand correctly, one of the interesting things that you brought up was the Australian team that did the investigation with the on the area to do with the haunting.
Cockatoo
Island.
They
did it for Cockatoo Island. They did it for 2 years.
Right.
They reported all their findings to the Australian government. It was apparently, through their words, it was agreed that their costs would be met.
Right. They were going to pay them. Yeah.
And then as soon as all the information was given over, and after the filming had finished, it was all stop, no more. And we're not going to give you any money because that wasn't agreed.
Right.
So that's the end of it. That was interesting that the government did that to them, where they were, one minute they were offered to be paid for their time, which, it was always frowned upon, paid to ghost hunt. But it seemed that they were doing a legitimate job for the government to find out if their claims were true, and then all of a sudden, their services were no longer required, and the government were kind of like, "No, we never agreed to that, so you can go away now."
Do you think that was because they actually caught something on? They actually filmed an event?
Possibly. Well, the thing is that they also bring up another interesting note in the documentary, is that were they the ones doing the investigating, or were they the pawns and the Australian government investigating, watching them investigate a site that had known psychic happenings, and the government wanted to see if there was anything connected to the island through them doing their investigation,
Right.
which was an interesting twist.
It was.
Because we get the whole. I think if I'm correct in my recall, that the Australian Pine Gap, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Is near this place.
No,
and,
Pine Gap is way out in the middle of nowhere in Australia. It's like the Australian.
It has a connection, yeah.
There is a connection, yeah, but it's like the Australian Area 51. It's owned by the U.S. military, but it's an Australian base. Like I said, like the Australian Area 51, which is way out in the desert, out in the middle of nowhere, where no one can see what's going on there. So the basic crux of this movie was that because so many people, when they saw the first Sir No Face, said, well, that's a great clip, it's a great piece of evidence you got there, but it doesn't look like a ghost, it looks like an alien. And there's a scene in Sir No Face, I don't know if you remember, where they try to recreate it. And when they try to recreate it, they rapidly discover that this person or ghost or alien or creature or whatever that peeks around the corner of the door is not a normal stature. It's like a small child. Yeah. It's very, very short.
It's kind of waist height to an adult, isn't it?
Right.
It's kind of,
and they never realized that until they actually did they tried to recreate it, and they realized that this thing was just a very small little creature. And when you do watch it, the face of the creature, and the arm and the way it comes around, it does not look human at all.
No, it actually, I have to say that even though this film was, for me, there was a lot of information in it, and a lot of it was kind of at times very confusing because you weren't sure where it was going.
Uh-huh.
One of their theories is, through some of the research that's done and some of the information that was passed to them, is that because obviously this film is based around a package he was given.
Oh yeah, right.
Of events, and he had pictures and events of why this is happening, and through from the early 30s up to now, that certain events that have happened in history have happened because of certain things.
Uh-huh.
And the interesting thing was that they were talking about AI and robots, and that they were saying that these greys they're mechanical internally and flesh on the outside.
Right.
And when you think of that, I know we're talking hypothetical things here, but when you think in those terms, and you go back and look at the no surface footage, it does look rather robotic.
It does, yeah.
In movement,
So my feeling over the Sir No Face footage, I mean, I do not know what it is, right? But the vibe I get from it is that it is not a hoax. The vibe I get from the actual footage of the creature or ghost or whatever it is that peeks around the corner of the door, that really happened. It wasn't like, okay, we're going to fix this and we'll do this. It was like a legit piece of footage, okay? That's my feeling. And of course, I could be wrong. I don't know. But my feeling is that it's real. Everything else that happens, I don't know. I mean, the way that Chad kind of gave birth to an hour-and-a-half sequel, reusing old footage and obviously doing a lot more to it, in many ways is the work of genius. It's like because he's making something out of nothing, really. Right?
Yeah, there is a lot of information that's reused, and it's also re-looked at with a different angle, with an alien angle,
but it's
than
done.
A ghost
it's
angle.
done in such a way though, where you can still actually sit there and enjoy it. It's still a fun movie to watch. So even though the original content, if you took all the original content out of that movie, you'd probably still have an hour of movie, right? If you took so it's
I got to say, I wasn't bored.
No,
when I watched it, and they got onto Antarctica.
Yeah.
They got onto the 4,000 men they sent, and they all came back early. And then they also got onto the first hydrogen bomb and the atom bomb, and the rise of the unexplained UFOs and unexplained sightings, and also the encounter with the lead ghost investigator from Australia with the two smiling men.
Yeah, that was
came to
very
his house.
strange. Yeah, and then the way they timed it, how fast
yeah.
they got up the driveway and all that. That was great. That was interesting to. I wish there'd been more moments like that in the video. There was another moment where Chad said that for a week or two he was followed by the same car.
Yeah.
And he only
and the
managed,
wife,
you only managed to
the wife
catch it
as well.
on video once, right? Things like that are interesting. The package that he was given. Now that could go either way, right? It could be like this is legit stuff he was given, or it could just be the ramblings of a mental case that thought, oh, this guy's a ghost guy, I'm going to give him this package. Very easily that could go either way, but interesting nonetheless, right?
Well, the thing is that you have the Australian ghost investigator, the lead investigator. He encounters two individuals at his house.
Yeah.
Okay. Then his wife is followed by an unmarked vehicle.
Right.
On her way home. When she goes to the she comes home, she gets in her car in the car park, and there's an SUV at the end, and it follows her, and she drives around not wanting to go home. She drives around trying to lose it, and it stays with her. And we have Chad, who is followed by a SUV for a number of days when he's out and about in his vehicle. So that tells you that you've got something unusual. But both these parties possibly are being monitored for what information they have or what they're actually doing.
For what they capture
you have
on
a site.
tape.
You have a site in Australia that was investigated and is known to have psychic happenings of a varying degree, and that now it's been shut down and the government don't want them there anymore. So we've got that connection, and now we've got this connection that he's trying to, he's looking at from an angle of, well, maybe what we're seeing is not an apparition of a human form or a once a human form. It is an actual a grey.
Yeah,
but the
alien.
thing is, why would a grey be on a disused island?
We have no idea. We have no We have no clue. No clue whatsoever.
No.
Unless
there's
we
more
have
to
is
that island than we know about.
Yeah, all we have is the evidence of seeing that small creature, ghost, whatever the hell it is, looking around the corner of a doorway and then going back. And I think the feeling I have, like I said earlier, that clip for 30 seconds or whatever it is, it feels real. It feels very real. I don't think that's hoaxed. But as to what it is, I don't know.
Well, I like the angle. I do like the angle of the whole grey connection and the UFO connection, and going back through history, because there was also a small clip in there from another investigator who investigates what they do with the drilling into the salt layers in the earth. Remember that bit where they drill so deep into the earth, and when they pull the drill out, they get all the hot gases come out, and it shoots up into the sky.
Yeah.
And then you get, when it condenses, you get get this kind of, what do they call it, skyfall.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
The rocks.
Yeah.
And it happened it was recorded in Turkey, wasn't it? There was literally stones falling from the sky, like rocks falling from the sky. Very bizarre.
Yeah. Very weird.
So it goes to show that there's possibly all these things are connected in some way, but it was also speculative. You could make a film that's got all this information in, but where how does all this information connect together?
All I can say for Chad Kalick is that my hat's off to him, because he made an hour-and-a-half movie, which is very entertaining to watch. I was not bored at all. It kept my interest from beginning to end. And it was edited and put together in such a way where there was very little new information and or footage in it, but it made sense and it was fun to watch. So it was good. And the way it ended, also is
on a cliffhanger.
It's total showmanship, right? It's wonderfully done. It just ended to be continued. So we got to wait for part 3 and see. And see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit. I mean, maybe he's got another angle he's going to work on in part 3, or maybe he's thinking, well, I got part 1, part 2, part 3, make a saga,
make a trilogy.
Who knows? But yeah, make a trilogy of it. But the thing is, it's I wasn't. I thought I might be after the first 10 minutes of the program. I thought I was going to get very bored, but I wasn't bored. I just kept watching it and thinking, well, there's stuff in here I've seen, but I like the angle of looking at it from a different angle, and I like the way that maybe it's not this, maybe it's this, maybe it's that.
Yeah.
And not saying either way what it is. I don't like things that are with definites in. It's definitely this or it's definitely that. But I like the angles that he looked, and I think that if anyone that wants to see something and scratch their head a little bit, it's great.
Worth a watch. Yeah.
Hour and a half of your time is okay.
Well, think about this though. This is, and once again, a pat on the back for Chad. This is the work of genius, right? When you can make 3 hours of content based on a 30-second clip. Right?
Yeah, it is very clever. It's very clever how you can, and once again, it's all about looking at it from different angles, and from those different angles, deriving the content to use and edit in such a way that keeps the viewer interested.
Yeah, and I totally enjoyed it. I liked the first one, and I liked the second one also. And here's to the third one, if and when it comes out. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
I think we will. I think we'll see a third one at some point, and definitely I'll be up for that, because I want to see where it goes now. I want to see where it goes. He must have more info.
I want to see how it ends, if it in fact does end.
It does. Yeah. If it does. We might get a part 4, part 5, and a part 6.
I hope not. I'm hoping it's part 3 and then we're done with it. But cool. I enjoyed it also. Thanks, Reeves.
All right.
We must have dominance.